We're joined by Fat Profits MD Greg Smith. Hi, Greg.
Hi there.
I mean, BP shares down another 9% yesterday since it all happened on April the 20th, down almost 50%. I mean, surely all the bad news has been priced in, Greg.
Well, there's a lot of bad news priced in. I guess the focus at the moment is really on the dividend, whether that's going to be suspended, paid in scrip, etc. But I guess the bigger picture is really about BP as a going concern. I think that's really what it's about.
Do you have doubts? I mean, do you have doubts that BP can survive as an independent company?
I mean, there's always going to be doubts. Our own view is that BP will survive. It has the financial muscle, if you like, to get through this. I mean, basically, this is really going to be fought out in the courts over the next few years. I mean, trying to estimate what the eventual cost will be is a bit of a guessing game.
I mean, 37 billion is one figure touted, isn't it, by Credit Suisse? But it could be higher, couldn't it?
Could be higher. I've even seen 80 billion out there. So initial estimates, our own initial estimate was 10 billion. That was seen as being a little bit outlandish in the early days, and now that's at the lower end of the spectrum. So it will be fought out in the court over the coming years.
The problem is, if with those litigation risks and clean-up costs, if you're another company, you're not going to look at BP, surely.
That's right. I mean, that's the second point. It's the reputational damage and how will BP go going forward in terms of being awarded licences, in terms of dealing with other partners. So I think that's why there's also suggestions that BP at some point may be swallowed up. That's one option. Another, maybe at the least, some changes in top management and real proof going forward that BP is fixing the problems that have beset it in the past, and this being the most catastrophic of them.
I mean, do you see it? There's a real risk that BP could lose some valuable leases and contracts, or is talk about it just a political posturing?
I think it's a bit of that, but sure, it's going to have to work a lot harder going forward. If it's up against Exxon in a bid, then obviously BP is going to be less favoured. So I think it's going to have to pedal a lot faster, as it were, to show that they're fixing the operational issues, fixing the safety issues that have been a problem.
If you're a shareholder or you're a potential shareholder, you're thinking, hang on, it's fallen so much so fast in the space of 50, 60 days. And I'm quite tempted. What should be your thinking if you're tempted to get in there right now?
I think you've got to go in there as an investor at the moment, with a longer-term view. Certainly as a trading opportunity at the moment. Certainly every time Barack Obama speaks, sends the shares down. Suggestions this week about the Escrow fund, what to do with dividends has caused further weakness. So I think you've really got to look beyond that. And if you think BP will be a going concern longer term, then sure, I think the investors are pretty attractive.
Does it have to cut the dividend? I mean, politically, just to sort of give an olive branch to the US, to the government, should it at least cut the dividend or postpone payment of the dividend?
I think that would help. Certainly placate US lawmakers and also those affected, obviously, by the crisis. I mean, the points we've made that it is a multinational country. The American shareholders will be hurt as much as British, but probably the right thing to do is to, at the very least, suspend that dividend, possibly a scrip dividend, look to reinstate going forward. But certainly, BP has the financial firepower to pay that dividend longer term, and I think that's really was an investor you should be looking at.
Can we see any good news on the horizon? I mean, until those two wells are built, per se, in August, it could just be a steady flow of bad news, couldn't it?
That's right. I mean, possibly the only thing that might happen, obviously, if this fund that's being talked about at the moment, they're meeting with Barack Obama tomorrow, if they decide to maybe suspend the dividend, a gesture of, a pretty big gesture of goodwill would be putting funds
setting
into
up
this
fund, what, 20 billion into it? Yeah.
Maybe that might stop the attacks that have been coming politically, particularly. So I think that might help things short term. Obviously, these wells have to work in August. If they don't, if they miss, then we've got a real problem. We could be looking at this dragging on towards the end of the year.
OK, Greg, thanks for joining us today. Greg there from Fat Profits.